I guess I want to start this testimony off with a little bit of context in who I am. Um, Deep down in the flesh, um, I'm a hedonist. And if you don't know what a hedonist is, it's someone who lives for pleasure. So you can say deep down, on the human level, I bask in lust, would be it. Like if there's no God, a perfect example. I had a friend who's Christian named Matthew, and he asked me a couple of days ago. He was like, "Take God out of it, right?" He was like, "Take God out of the equation." It was like, if God doesn't exist, or if don't think about God right now. If God doesn't exist, what would you live for? And I said, I'd sleep with people, because that's to me, that's worth living for. Um, from the flesh, the human aspect of things, like nothing else ultimately matters. The only thing that matters is what makes me feel good, right? So almost people would be expendable, okay? But I would say on the flip side of me is my soul, my being, the spiritual aspect of myself is love. So in a way, I would say they contradict each other. And throughout my life, I've been low key torn because there's this one half of me that's like, I want to dominate you, uh, and I want to gain from you, if that makes sense. And then on the other hand, there is the side of me that has almost feels like it has no choice but to give to everyone and everything, and to be in straight communion and love and just all this good. That's the other aspect of me. So that's to sum up a little bit of who I am. I will say I've always kind of basked in the spiritual side of myself more so than the other side. And I'll give you an example of this. I dated a girl a long time ago, um, and me and her never slept together. And I remember I had no intentions of ever sleeping with her. And but I was my flesh was speaking to me. My lust was is rampant, and I knew I wanted to sleep with like other people and stuff. And but at the same time, I loved this other person, the girl, right? So it was like I was torn. And I remember, this is gonna be mad weird what I'm about to say, but I'm gonna be as transparent as possible. I remember at a young age, this very young age, I remember I wanted to cut my my Johnson off. And the reason why is because I felt like he was getting in my way. He was dictating my life to the point where I couldn't love people properly. Because I think even at a young age, I understood what love was, but your body's telling you something completely different. Granted, I never cut my Johnson off, so you're good. I'm good. But I did feel that way at one point where I wanted to. I'll give you a few more examples. I remember there was a point in my life in my 20s where I was sexually confused, not in a homosexual, heterosexual type of way. Always been heterosexual, but sexually confused because I couldn't enjoy sex, not all the time. It wasn't always fulfilling. Meaning, if I would have sex, I would have to either get a new partner or something would have to give. Like I couldn't just I can't. It's hard to explain it, but I couldn't exactly enjoy it all the time. And I remember I was sleeping with this girl. I would have a girl lined up every day. I would have them lined up every day, and I would sleep with these girls every day because I was trying to figure myself out sexually. Like I was trying to understand why why these things were the way they were. And I remember I slept with this girl, and she loved me. Well, she didn't know me. She loved the idea of me, I would say, which could have led to more, but she definitely cared about me a lot, was very interested, and she appreciated my time. And I remember I slept with her, And I remember after everything was done, I leaned over on the side of the bed. And I remember I was sitting there. I remember the whole time I'm sitting there, I wanted to kill myself. And I didn't understand why. I did not understand why. I remember I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, this sucks. Like, this sucks. Because I can't do what other people do. Like, I can't just be like everybody else. Like, something's wrong. When I look back at that experience now, I think it's because I knew God. I was close to God. I obeyed God. I listened to God spiritually. But I didn't mentally understand or know God, if that makes sense. In my mind, God didn't exist. In my spirit, God existed, and I was connected to God. So in a way, I couldn't do anything. I think the farther you're away from God, the more you're capable of doing. And the closer you are to God, the harder it is to do things that God doesn't like, if that makes sense. So that's the context of somewhat of who I am. Just like most people, we're all mixed up, we're all messed up. I'm messed up. I'm a mad, lustful person. But spiritually, I'm very in touch with love, I would say. And that's always been a conflict with me because I've always kind of been that mixture. I've never been able to kill one or the other. Okay, now on to my testimony. I was dating my ex before the mother of my kids. And in that relationship, it was basically perfect. And I think the reason why that relationship was perfect is because I had suppressed my flesh. And the best way to describe that is when I got in a relationship with this girl, I had no intentions to entertain my lust. So for in that relationship, it was just love, nothing but love. I didn't really care about anything else. It was nothing but peace and love. Honestly, it felt good. I think I had suppressed it because I started to notice the relationships around me were just toxic and bad. So I wasn't even technically suppressing it for her. I was suppressing it for myself. And so that ended up being my best relationship. What is crazy though is eventually I would hear some of my friends talk about their sexual escapades and all their sexual fantasies and everything they're doing. And granted, even though I had like literally the best relationship, it was poisoning my mind and started made me feel. And at this time, I was elevating myself. I became an assistant manager of a store. Everything was just going in the right direction. I was starting to, take care of myself. I had money. Things were just looking good. And again, they were poisoning my mind because I'm listening to them, listening to everything they're doing, and I'm thinking to myself, like, my ego got really big. I'm thinking to myself, I deserve all of this stuff. I deserve this, and this. I'm trying to live my life. I want to live. Right? That's what living is. So eventually I'll leave her, literally leave her for that. Easy, one of the easiest breakups I ever had. She didn't take it well, but I would say she took it like a champ for someone who loved me. And so I left her for sex and lust. Okay, so eventually that's when I start going on my sexual escapades and I had girls lined up every day and I was trying to figure myself out. In this, I was never happy. The whole time I was never happy. Never happy doing it. Never enjoyed it. I never found fulfillment. It was something I constantly always had to do. Then eventually it turned into drinking. And eventually it turned into drugs. Because I was never happy. There was always this lack. It's because I'm killing myself. It's like when you're doing what's wrong, you're going to end up doing more of what's wrong. And it's because you're hurting yourself, who you really are deep down in your being. So I was always having to do that. And I was looking miserable, even though you don't realize you're miserable because in your mind, you're telling yourself, this is normal. This is okay. These are things people do. This is fun. This is exciting. And there is some level of thrill to it. But in reality, something's lacking. Something is lacking. Okay. So eventually I find this girl that I'm sleeping with, and my ex that I was in love with comes back, right? She doesn't come back to me, but we're at this party together. Both of these girls are at a party. And I'm sleeping with this one girl, and I'm sleeping with my ex too. We were sleeping together as well. And I see them chatting it up, and I'm thinking to myself, I can have both of them. That's what I'm thinking. I can have both of them. So I get both of them. I actually end up getting both of them. The one girl that I ended up getting, which ended up being the mother of my kids, I had never intended to ever date. And the reason why I never intended to date her is because she slept around with a multitude of people. She had already slept around with a multitude of my friends. I knew about almost every experience. I knew almost every detail about every experience, and I honestly didn't want to partake. The only reason I ended up dating her is because she was just a nice addition to the poly relationship. I already had the one I loved, then I had someone who could fulfill me sexually. Right? That was my thinking. So I'm in this poly relationship, and I remember, and okay, I'll say this too as well. It's not just that I thought there was a love for her as well. I will say this. This is the mother of my kids. Even before, like, I didn't look at her just as a sexual object. I can say that I treated her better than most of the other guys that came before her, because even though I knew not to date her, and it wasn't because I didn't like her, it was more so because I didn't want my best man to be thinking about my girl. Does that make sense? I didn't want my friends to mock me or laugh at me for marrying this girl. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, I was like, I can't marry her. I can't be with her. I can, so it was easy to be with her in the poly relationship because to me, I was winning. So I always liked her. Deep down, I always saw this goodness in her, and I saw something about her that was special. The best way I can put it. And so the poly relationship doesn't work. My ex ended up leaving. The one that I was loved, she ends up leaving. Granted, I could have ended up staying with her, but I wanted to test this other thing out, right? So I decided to stay with the mother of my kids. So I'm in this relationship with her, and I realized very fast, that sexually I'm not satisfied. Not satisfied. And I started to realize that no matter who it was, I'm not ever going to be satisfied. It's just how it is. And it's because I'm entertaining something that shouldn't be entertained. And I think I'll make another video about God explaining to me sex, and making love. He explains it to me. He actually shows me. So continuing on, our relationship's terrible. It's terrible because, one, I'm scared. I think I'm in fear. And I'm in fear because, one, she's pregnant. So I already feel like there's an obligation that I have to stay here. I can't force her. I can't tell her to get an abortion. And it's because I've previously talked about an abortion and, caused an ex way back in the day to have an abortion, and that didn't go well. So I wasn't ever going to bring that up again because I saw the results of that. So she has my kid. She's pregnant with my kid. And the relationship's terrible because I can't understand this girl. I cannot understand her. I don't even think she understands herself. I couldn't tell if she was just a whore, right? And I'm not saying that to be malicious. I'm just saying that because that's the first term that came to my mind, right? Or it's just because she's self-conscious, right? One thing that I'm starting to realize that it's both. She's both, right? One has to, like, it's cool that you're insecure and you don't have as much confidence in yourself. You don't feel beautiful. You don't feel liked. You don't feel loved. Cool, I get it. But it's another thing to bask in sex, especially being a female. No offense, and I'm not trying to be sexist, but it's easier for a woman to have sex with multiple partners. It's just easy. Like, if a woman really wanted to, she could step outside and be like, here I am. I can tell you 20 niggas will line up, right? If I'm a man, and if I can step outside right now, take my shirt off, and it don't matter. If I don't got something to offer besides my body, bro, they not lining up like that. You feel me? So that's the difference between man and woman, okay? So at that time, I was still conflicted. Now I'm not conflicted. I understand that she's choosing to be the other person because in her mind, that's fun, that's exciting, that's life. Just like I did. It's funny because the same thing I did to my previous ex, right? I would say the difference between me and her is I never really fully entertained it. It was more of a curiosity. And I will say for her, she's basking in it versus me. Versus how I was literally just curious. I did not understand. I could never fully bask in it. It's because I more so entertained my light than my dark. I will say for her, it's the other way around. Okay, so I'm in a relationship with her. She doesn't understand herself. I don't even understand her. But I'm trying to trust her. I'm trying to love her. I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. I want to understand her because I can't trust you. Our relationship's going to crumble, right? So our relationship was just really bad. Really, really bad. Toxic, very toxic. And we argued about everything. We couldn't figure things out. And again, it's because she honestly didn't understand herself. I think even today she doesn't fully grasp things because she doesn't believe in God. And I think she wanted to believe in God around it. I think she wanted to go to goodness. And I think the reason why she got with me because there was a goodness about me. The problem was I didn't fully understand myself as well, right? I didn't know God, right? But like I said, I always dance on the light. And I can give you examples. I don't want to give you too many examples. Some of the examples I probably shouldn't be speaking about, but I want to tell the truth on a lot of things. But like I never fully used her like most people. And it's because I did care about her and I could see some of the stuff that was going on within her. And I can see who she was and who she ultimately wanted to be at that time. She transitioned away from that as our relationship ended recently. So during that time, again, it was terrible fights. I couldn't get over the fact because I didn't know her. And I think in my spirit, I knew there was conflict within her where she didn't know who she was and who to be. So that was ultimately going to bite me. I think that's why we always fought back then because your spirit knows. Your spirit knows. And I think she wanted to love me during that time because I was good. There was this goodness about me. So eventually, things are just so bad to the point where I'm thinking, bruh, I can't do it anymore. Like, I can't be in this relationship. It's hell being in a relationship with this person because I'm just terrified that this is going to backfire on me because if I end up loving her, I'm going to love her. You get what I'm saying? Like, and this is why things are so bad for me now. It's because I chose to love her, right? It got to a point where I chose to. I didn't have to. I allowed myself to get vulnerable. I allowed myself to attach to this person. But during that time, I knew I wasn't attached yet because I had my defenses up. I was on guard. I've been hurt before. So it was like, no way I'm going to let this chick wreck me, right? I had all the money around this time. I was working. I had nothing. I had money. The sky was the limit for me, right? So I remember I'm thinking she's pregnant with my daughter, and I didn't know nothing. I didn't give a crap about kids around this time. I did not care about kids. I already had 2 nephews I never even saw around this time. Did not give a lick. It's because I never had a family that loved me. I never knew love, right? And I tried loving people all my life before that, but guess what? They all backstabbed me. And they all betrayed me. They all used me. They all spat in my face. So at this point, I'm really messed up. You gotta think how messed up I am. I don't even like none of the people I'm living with at the time that this is going down. So I still tried to be good. Even around that time, I was doing all this weird and messy stuff. I always tried to be good. There was this goodness still about me. It was just, I was starting to creep away into the dark. So I'm one day she's sleeping in the bed. She's pregnant with my daughter and I'm just pacing back and forth because I'm about to make a big life decision. I'm pacing back and forth and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can win in life. You know how to win in life, Roy. You're smart. You're good. You're still looking good. 27, 28 years old. You're still looking good. You're smart. You're making money. You know what to do. You know how to save money. You don't even care about things like that. So what's important to you? Sex. And if you want sex and if you want women, you need what, Roy? You need money because money's power. So if I pursue money, give all my attention to pursuing money and then use that money to obtain sex, but ultimately use the wisdom that I have to not be manipulated by women to gain everything that I want. So I'll be the manipulator and I'll use them before they can use me. That's my thinking. And I knew at the time as well that I'm going to cut my conscience. I'm going to cut my conscience because I felt like my conscience was making me lose, right? That's my thinking. I'm thinking I'm going to cut it. Well, if I'm having sex with someone and I feel weird, like I'm not supposed, like sometimes there's this feeling like I'm not supposed to be doing this, or there's this feeling of like, it's like a sickness. It's like a sick feeling that I would get and I can't do it. I'm not supposed to be doing it. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to continue to do it and I'm going to like it. That's my thinking. And there was the other thought. The other thought is, I have this girl here who's messed up. I know why she's messed up. I love her. I like her. Everything about her that I see is still good. There's this goodness about her. All I care about is that goodness. I don't care about the dark stuff. Because there was even a point after God, I'm going to leave it later. Okay. But yeah, there was this goodness about her that I love. I could care less about the badness. I mean, I still cared about the badness, but if she can show me that love, that goodness, that love, I will hold on to that no matter what. It didn't matter what else. Nothing else mattered besides that. If she can be that person. Okay. But I was like, screw that. Reality, in my mind, reality was, you got to win. You have to go out there and get it. You have to go out there and take everything. You have to take everything you want. And the only thing that made sense to me is having sex with people and taking everything that I wanted and using as many people as I could to get to the top and then obtain everything that I wanted. I remember when I was deciding, right? And remember, I don't know that kid, so the kid's irrelevant. I don't even like kids like that. Plus, there was already a fear in my mind, because in my mind, I knew I didn't know my father. I knew I didn't know my mother. And what I mean by that is not that I didn't know them. I didn't know who they were in their being, in their essence. And I remember I was telling this girl one day way back when that I'm scared. I'm scared that my kids won't know me. Not know me as dad. Cool, they know me as dad. No, Roy. I want my kids to know me. That was the thing I was scared of. And it's crazy because full circle, it ended up happening anyway. Right? Because I lost my kids. So it's going to happen regardless. It's like a terrible thing. Like, it's not, people think this is normal. It's not normal. So I'm in, and then like I said, I had the second thought where I'm thinking of all the goodness that I could have, but I just didn't trust her. I could not trust her. Only person I knew I could trust is myself, and then I could barely even trust myself. As you can see, the path that I'm starting to go down. So I'm deciding the ladder of things. I'm deciding this. I'm not choosing the good one. I've chosen the good one many times over, and I got screwed. I've chosen being nice. I chose being kind. I'm screwing people. That's what I'm thinking. I'm winning. I'm going to win. I'm tired of taking L's. Right? That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to win in life for once. No more L's. And then a voice speaks to me. I remember I'm pacing during this time. And the reason why I'm pacing is because my spirit knows this is a big decision, and more than likely I'm already on the verge of choosing the wrong one. I already know, because I'm thinking that in depth. I'm pacing hard. Like, I'm going boom, boom, back and forth, right? And then right when I'm about to decide the other one, right, the bad one, I'm not deciding to keep her or that kid. I'm deciding to use people. I'm deciding to go get money. I'm deciding to have sex with as many good looking people as I could, because it's going to be good times. And then right as I chose that, a voice spoke to me. As soon as the voice spoke to me, I swear to you, I stopped in my tracks. There was no pacing. It was straight shock. All just frozenness. I completely froze. And I'm just shocked, right? I'm just frozen there. And then it says, if you do this, hold on. If you do this, I'm trying to quote it verbatim. If you do this, then I'm gone, or something like that. I think that's what it said. If you do this, then I'm gone, right? And I remember I'm frozen, and the whole time I'm thinking to myself at this point, I'm not moving, I'm just standing still, frozen, looking straight, like in awe, right? I'm like, what just happened? And I start thinking to myself, because I'm already talking to myself, not out loud, I'm not crazy. I'm thinking to myself in my mind. I'm talking to myself in my mind about the whole situation prior. So first thought was that me talking to myself, like telling myself that? And then I think to myself for a little bit. I'm frozen there, and I'm like, okay, that wasn't me. I knew that wasn't me, because the voice wasn't mine. It was not my voice. Because like, if I can mimic I think everyone can do this. You can mimic people. Like, if you hang out with a person long enough, you can mimic their voice in your mind. You can create scenarios in your mind with people as well, if you've been around them long enough, because you can pick up certain behavioral patterns. So you can start having certain things play in your mind prior to you having those events, right? So in me, when I'm talking to myself, I know myself, I know my voice, so I start to understand that's not me. There's something outside of myself, because it felt like when the voice spoke to me, it felt like it was speaking to me I don't even know how to explain how it was speaking to me. It was like you could hear the voice audibly, but you couldn't hear the voice audibly. It was like it was in your mind, but not in your mind. It was like it was speaking to your being. That's how it felt. That's how it felt. At that time, I didn't feel that way, right? I didn't know that. I just knew I heard something. And when I look back on it, that's how I think how God speaks to you. It's your being. He speaks to your being, right? And I remember after I realized it, because right before all this even happened, while I was in a relationship with her during this time, I was already considering that maybe God was possible, because my life was just so weird. It was so weird. It was so chaotic. It didn't make sense. My life just wasn't making sense. Nothing made sense. Like, if you think about life, survival of the fittest makes sense. Amassing as much money as possible makes sense. Sleeping with as many people as possible makes sense. There's no bad. There's no right and wrong. There's no good or evil if there's no God, right? But if you try to live your life like that, it doesn't make sense. I mean, it can make sense, trust me, but you're going to be a bad person, a very bad person. But if you're somewhat mixed up like most people are, your life's a roller coaster, because it's an up and down mess. And it's because God exists, and you're living in a world where God is somewhat taking a step back. And since God's all good, you only feel some of God's goodness, not all of God's goodness. So you're in a world where it's a mixture of things, and we create most of the evil, right? So I started to realize at that time, before this even happened, that there was a possibility that God exists. So I started studying. So I knew at this point that that God was possible. Especially when he spoke to me, I was like, okay, this is God. This has to be God. And then I was like, okay, since I didn't know for sure, because I'm naturally a skeptic. I didn't know for sure. I said this to God when he spoke to me. I said, I don't care. I said this with my mouth. I said, I don't care if it takes me 30 years. I'll try. That's exactly what I said. The reason why I said 30 years, because in my mind, I'm thinking that's a lifetime, bro. If I sacrifice sex, because I wanted to go out here and go crazy. If I sacrifice sex for all these years, for 30 years, I'm like, bro, that's a lifetime. I was like, 50 something, I'm not getting nobody, bro. I'm not really going to be out here doing what I need to do if I sacrifice this much time. So I told God, basically, I'll sacrifice my life to find out if this is true. Not only for myself, but for other people, because I know I tell the truth. I know I'm an honest person. Okay, so yeah, that's my testimony. Well, I'll finish it up. I'll clean it up. So eventually, she has my kid. I'm a little uncomfortable with it. I'm not sure about the whole thing, but eventually I'm working at a chicken plant. I come home from the chicken plant. Every time I come home, my firstborn daughter named Darian, she would be sitting there waiting for me, literally sitting there waiting for me. And she would just give me the best hugs every time I would come home. And I needed these hugs. I needed her love, because it made me realize that people are so messed up, they can't love. They can't love properly. My daughters loved me properly, which ultimately brought me back. And they were a gift from God. So that brought me back to being capable of loving others and sacrificing for them, because I realized that's what you're supposed to do in the first place. I already knew that before I even found God. But I remember doing that made me lose in life. It made me suffer. So it was like, it basically makes you not want to do it, because you're going to suffer for doing it. So I ended up reverting. Everything was good. I became Christian. I started to realize, God is good. God's really good. I fell in love with the mother of my kids. The reason why I fell in love with her, because she was special to me. She became more special to me. What's funny is I ended up asking God to help me forgive her for everything that she did in her past, right? Because she did a multitude of things. I'd asked God. That's how important she was to me. I'd asked God to help me forgive her. And I loved her because she gave me my kids. She gave me my kids, so I loved her. I was never going to leave her. I was going to never abandon her, because she was special to me. There was never going to be a point where she was never going to not be special to me.